The definition of a path has many meanings: a trodden track or way, a roadway, a route, a course of action or conduct. It can mean the course or direction in which something moves. A path can mean a way of life. It could also mean an itinerary. Now, what if this path is not straight? It could be bent or curved. It could be raised to one side or uneven, winding, twisting, and turning. Isn't that what life is? An ever-changing path that we all follow in our own way and on our own terms? Come and join me, and together we can start walking the crooked path.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Walking the Crooked Path. I am your host, Raven Wings, and today I have a special guest with me, and I'm going to make sure that I do her name correctly. It is Mabh Savage, M-A-V, instead of M-A-B-H. Can you say hello to everyone, Mabh?
Hi, everyone. I'm Mabh. Love to be here.
Yes, and I love her accent. She's from Yorkshire, correct?
Yeah, Yorkshire, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm one of them silly Americans, we don't know how to pronounce anything at all.
It was lovely.
Now, growing up, you grew up with Wiccan parents, correct?
That's correct, yes. Both my mum and my dad they were high priest and high priestess in their own group, coven, if you will, although after I was born, they sort of slowed it down a bit, and by the time I was sort of toddling about, they weren't sort of doing so much of the group stuff, but there was still stuff around the house like tarot cards and well out of reach athames and crystal balls. Well, instead of a crystal ball, we actually had a fishing float, a green glass fishing float.
Ooh.
On a little stand, and my mum would let me supervisedly, have a look in it every now and then. So it was a really wonderful aspect to my childhood, really magical aspects because of my mum and dad's Wiccan involvement. It was really interesting.
That's awesome. Now, your parents told you different tales, and I totally screwed this up earlier, so I'm not going to try it now. The tales of...
Oh, it's mentioned in my blurb, the Tuatha de Danaan, which is the Celtic Irish land of everlasting youth. So my dad did a lot of artwork, and he had miniatures, metal miniatures that people do like war games and stuff with. He actually had his own company called Tuatha de Danaan. He built them and he painted them, and he did paintings at home as well. And he was so interested in the Celtic legends and the Irish legends, the Ulster cycle. So I sort of really got drawn into them as well, and I got sort of drawn into the tales of the Tuatha de Danaan. But it wasn't actually until much later on, when I was sort of in my early 20s, that I suddenly discovered that the figures of the Tuatha de Danaan were sort of walking alongside us, and I sort of developed that connection to them, which is what I write about now.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were drawn to paganism yourself, and mostly Celtic, correct?
That's right, yeah. Both my parents have got Celtic heritage, Irish heritage going way back, and because I was interested in that, I sort of started examining it a bit more, and totally by accident fell in with a group that honoured the Morrigan. Mm-hmm. The Morrigan is obviously a great figure from Celtic mythology. She's a goddess of war, of transformation, amongst many, many other things, and one of those goddesses that's, certainly not all love and light. She's got a real dark side, a real strength, but a real sort of fearful aspect as well. So it was like really amazing to sort of come face to face, if you like, with this folk figure from my childhood, and to be involved almost quite by accident with a group of people who were all as fascinated with her and the stories around her as I was. So yeah, that feeds into some of what I write about now, but I've also examined a few, some of the other Tuatha de Danaan and some of the other aspects of Celtic heritage as well. I've just started looking at the Welsh Celtic legends as well, like the Mabh
Mm-hmm.
And so there's in Celtic witchcraft, which is my most recent book, I do touch on. There are the Brittany Celts from France, and the Celtic peoples. They spanned across all of Europe, and even as far as we know today, into the Middle East as well. So they're not just the Irish gods that are classed as Celtic. I mean, Celtic influence comes from all over the world, basically.
Yeah, and you notice that in a lot of different pagan paths too, that there's a lot of crossover that we find with Celtic and Egyptian stuff, and Egyptian and, and other forms of paganism. And it's weird how there's so much crossover.
Absolutely, and I think when in a modern setting, when you are a modern pagan, you do absorb so much stuff from so many different angles. I mean, taking the paganism thing out of it, I mean, we are just bombarded with information day in, day out, and I think you absorb all that, and then you become this sort of amalgamation of all these different influences. And I think when somebody's on a pagan path, it's no different. Like you say, you hear about Egyptian paths, people who worship Isis, people who worship Hecate, which is obviously your Hellenic path, and then people who look at the Celtic side of things. It can all merge together to make one very eclectic path that sort of weaves and winds all over, and I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think you have to be like, oh well, you're not a proper Celtic witch because you are also involved with this, ISIS, for example. It's like, well, no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. You take your inspiration where it inspires you, and I think there's a druidic term called Arwen, which is like pure inspiration, and I think if you experience Arwen, it doesn't matter where that comes from. It doesn't matter if it's from an Egyptian path or a Hellenic path or even a Norse path, for example. At the end of the day, we're all human beings and we're all spiritual, and those spiritual leanings all come from a similar source. So I think it's absolutely fantastic that we're all influenced by different things.
Exactly, and we were talking about earlier before we came on the fact that a lot of pagans, newer pagans these days, don't feel that they're proper pagans because they don't have all the tools and all the fancy stuff. And we were talking about that, and there's really no need to have. I mean, they're nice.
Yeah, it's such a shame, is that I just think, there's two sides of that. I think there's the people who feel that they're not a proper, say for example, a proper heathen or a proper Wiccan because they don't have certain tools. Like feeling you can't be a proper Wiccan because you don't have a specific type of fame. I think that would be awful. Surely it's what's in your heart and what's in your spirit and your energy that you give to it. Why should it be less because you can't, for example, because you can't afford a specific tool or something. But then there's the other side of it as well. I think there is a small minority of people who run groups like that I've come across it myself, where it's like, well, no, sorry, you do need to have this particular tool, or you do need to have these particular ceremonial robes, and I think that's very, very elitist and very exclusive, and I don't think it's a positive influence in sort of a modern pagan society where anybody should be able to follow their path.
Exactly, and it's similar to like Christians. They have a building that they have to pray in. They go to church every Sunday. I've never saw the whole purpose of that. I grew up Roman Catholic, and I never saw the purpose of having to go to a church on Sunday. If this God can hear me in church, why can't He hear me at home? That was my big thing. So
I think the truth is with most mainstream religions is the church is the convenient place where they can collect the money, isn't it? So.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it too. Sundays the ministers are up there going, "Yay, it's payday!" So yeah, it's kind of sad. Now, I read something on here that I thought was kind of funny, that you describe yourself as a mystical mummy who observes about her Celtic heritage and the fact that folk can't spell anymore.
Oh, this is a bugbear of mine. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially on Facebook. Obviously I'm on Facebook. I suppose probably like 80% of the world is on Facebook now, and I do use it, and I share stuff and I enjoy it. I chat to my friends on there, but so many people, even like people who I think should know better, just you just read the stuff and you're just like, this is not even English anymore.
Yes, it's like a grammar Nazi's nightmare. Facebook, it's like, oh my god, my son is famous for that. I'm like, do you know what spell check is? I'm like, invest in it, please.
I'm terrible. It's probably one of my least endearing features is that I do get quite judgmental about it. I'm like, come on. It's your with an apostrophe. Come on.
Yes, or there. It's not there. THERE. It's theirs. It's they own it. It's THIER. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know those little Facebook quizzes, and it's like, see how many theirs, and theirs you can get right, and it's like just all of them.
Yes.
All of them.
Exactly. Now you also play music and write songs.
I do. Yes. I've always loved music ever since I was really little. I mean, some of my earliest memories are of sitting in my little kiddie rocking chair and listening to Gershwin or the Beatles or Wishbone Ash. So I've always had a really eclectic music upbringing, and both my parents played folk instruments as well. So growing up, I learned to play the guitar, I learned to play the mandolin, I learned to play the Irish whistle, and I learned to sing as well. And if you bob onto my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Mabh Savage, full name, and there are some links on there to a few odd songs. The last recordings that I did were to raise money for a particular hospital in England, which was basically some friends from one of the pagan camps we go to. Their daughter had been extremely ill, and the hospital staff there basically saved her life. So there was a big campaign to raise money for them to help for the children's ward. So I recorded like 10 songs onto CD and sold them, but all the money went to the hospital. So I didn't sell loads and loads, but it was good. It was fun doing it, and it was really nice to know that, I mean, I didn't keep a penny of it. I didn't make any, not just the profits, the whole lot. I paid for the entire project out of my own pocket, and the whole lot went to the hospital. So it wasn't loads, but it was good. But that was mostly I did covers of some traditional folk songs like Dogs and Ferrets and I can't even remember now. My mind's gone blank. Spotted Cow. That was quite rude. One of those with hidden meanings. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I love to play and I love to sing. At the moment, I've got a gig coming up in August, which is at a pub in Leeds, and I've got nothing much else booked because nowadays my focus tends to be more on my writing. But when I get the chance, it's either just myself with a guitar, or I've got a friend called Emma, and we do some like sort of bluesy poppy stuff together. And we're called Mammoth Rose. And we haven't played for ages actually, but we've just been talking about getting some stuff together for later in the year. So.
Oh, that must be nice. Now, do you do like some of the pagan festival type things then?
I've only done like open mic stuff at the pagan festivals, like it's just like anybody can turn up and grab the mic and sing a song. So I've not actually sort of put myself forward to go, I'll come and do a full set. Because I'm so busy with the writing, I don't get time to practice, especially the guitar as I'd like. So I'm not sort of 100% confident that I'll be able to go and keep an excited crowd happy for like an hour or so. I usually do like 20-30 minutes and that's it, tops.
Oh wow, yeah. Now you're also studying herbalism?
Yes, yeah, I'm doing a foundation course in Herbalism with a college over here called New Vitality. It's really interesting. It's literally what it says on the tin. It's very foundation, but it covers anatomy and physiology and the herbs themselves, their history, what they do. But I'm by no means an expert yet, but it's something I find really fascinating. I did a talk recently for the Pagan Federation in Britain, which is like the main organisation that campaigns for pagan rights in Britain. And I did a talk on foraging for plants at around the summer solstice, and different plants that could be used for medical reasons and plants that could be used for magical reasons. So that's actually available to look at on YouTube now, which just search my name and that's there. So 20 minutes of me waffling about ash trees and dandelions.
Yeah, but that's amazing, and I do a lot of herbalism. I've been doing it for 30 plus years. Not to age myself, but yeah, 30 plus years. And I found when people who first start doing it, I've told them, I'm like, find out what the plants are in your own neighborhood. Take a walk with a notebook and a camera, because if you don't know what it is, take a picture, look it up online when you get home, find out what it is, find out what's native to your area, find out what has been transplanted there from somewhere else, and learn about your own neighborhood before you go delving too far into herbalism, because herbalism is a long study. Very long study. Yeah.
I've literally just dipped my toe in the water. I'm literally in the shallow end at the moment, but that is fantastic advice. The talk that I just did, I literally said, I'm not looking at any plants that are exotic or anything. I'm literally looking at things I can find in my garden, and I literally walked around my garden going, right, here's a dandelion, here's a thistle, here's a buttercup, so on and so forth. And I think that's great advice, to always find out what you've got local to you, because sometimes you can find some real gems. When I moved, not the house I've moved into recently, the last time I moved house, I just started my herbalism study, and one of the first plants that we were looking at was horsetail, because it's high content of silica. It's really good for healing wounds. And the area around and about was infested with them. I'd never seen them before, and where I'd moved to, they were just everywhere, and I was like, wow, that's serendipitous.
Right.
That was really cool. But yeah, absolutely, always find out what's local to you, because you could be really surprised, I think. Like we've got just down the road, probably about 15-minute walk, and you go off the beaten track into some old woodland. And about a month ago, if you walked or drove up that road, all you could smell was garlic, because the entire patch of woodland that you drive through is just full of wild garlic.
Oh wow, that must be awesome.
Yeah, it smells amazing. It's like driving past like the most amazing pizzeria.
Yes, right? Well,
Yeah.
I live in an apartment, so being able to have a garden is just not something that's feasible right now. And I grow my own parsley and my own basil. I do herbs because I can do them in the window, and I can normally beat the cat off of them before she eats them all. But yeah, I mean, I have the basil in the office, and we keep that door closed at night so the cat can't get in there. And you open that door in the morning, and that's all you can smell is basil.
Oh,
It smells so amazing. It's like, this is why I grow plants in my house, so I can smell them. So, yeah.
I love basil. It's just one of my favourite smells, and I've tried to grow it a few times, not with much success, to be honest. I think we haven't got the sunshine for it here, really. But I just love that, you just brush past it and the smell just comes straight off, doesn't it? It's so nice.
Oh, yes. And if you don't have much sunshine, there is a purple form of basil. It's a purple color. Try that one.
Oh, thank you. I will.
Yeah, try growing the purple one, because they tend to grow a little better in shadier areas, because there's like 18 different kinds of basil. But I found that the purple leaves, and it actually is beautiful. It looks like a dark eggplant type of purple.
Oh, wow. I'll have to look out for that.
Oh, yeah, and it smells so good. So, yeah, give that one a shot. They tend to grow a little better in the shade, so.
Yeah. I love that. I love rosemary as well. The smell of rosemary, I just think is absolutely astonishing. And that's another one you can just run your fingers along it and smell.
Yeah, you can smell it as you're, yeah, that is amazing. All right, we are going to take our first commercial break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about your first book, A Modern Celt, Seeking the Ancestors. So stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back.
The Witch Candle Shop is nestled in the beautiful foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, where we make all of the unique handcrafted goods that are offered exclusively through our Etsy store. The Witch Candle Shop is proud to provide personalized service and supplies for the New Age and traditional practitioners of American witchcraft, conjure, Southern root work, and other magical practices.
While some shops may say no, we will gladly embrace the darker style of magic for our customers. The Witch Candle Shop, offering quality handcrafted products at reasonable prices. Check us out at our Etsy shop, which can be found at witchcandleshop.etsy.com. That's witchcandleshop.etsy.com.
This is a message from Hawthorne at Magic in Your Living Room. The Etsy shop includes ritual programs and gorgeous altar cloths. We feature ready-to-use rituals for only $3 or less. You get step-by-step instructions, including a list of necessary items, how to set up the altar, and a complete program for all ritual activity. We also have beautiful altar cloths for all holidays. Magic in Your Living Room is located at Etsy at www.etsy.com/shop/magic-in-living-room or at www.magicinyourlivingroom.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Walking the Crooked Path. I am your host, Ravenwings, and today we are talking to Mabh Savage, and it's spelled M-A-B-H, Savage, if you go to look her up on Facebook or anywhere. It's just pronounced Mauve. And we've been talking about your Celtic heritage. We've talked about plants. We've talked about all kinds of stuff. You wrote a book back in 2013 called A Modern Celt Seeking the Ancestors.
Yes. A friend of a friend had said he was looking for articles, so I contacted him and said, well, how about an article about the influence of Celtic culture on modern paganism and modern spirituality? Because, you know, some of it's quite obvious, like the pagan wheel of the year and things like that, but, you know, a lot of modern paths that have those Celtic influences don't always acknowledge them, so I thought it'd be interesting to go into a bit of in-depth stuff about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yeah, I did the essay, and it got sent off. It got published, which was wonderful. It was like my first properly published piece, so I was like, woo!
Yeah.
And, but it stayed with me, and it niggled at me, and it niggled at me, and it niggled at me, and in the end, I emailed the guy, and Trevor, lovely guy, and I said, can I do a book for you?
Would you mind?
And he said, well, there's a submission process, and he told me what I had to do to put the submission in. So I got the original article. I sort of wrote a lot more, made it a much more meaty piece. It certainly wasn't the finished article. I sent it off, and within about a month they'd offered me a contract for it, and I was just absolutely blown away. So, but basically, I took my own experience with Celtic culture and Celtic inspiration, and I expanded that to include other people's experiences. So a modern Celt is very much, it's all experiential, it's all about personal experience, but from a lot of different people's point of view. So I speak to a lady who is a spiritual healer and involved in Reiki, and we talk about the links between her healing power and stories of healing in Celtic literature. I speak to one of my friends she wouldn't refer to herself as pagan or religious in any way whatsoever, but she has prophetic dreams, and she has prophetic feelings. She knows when things are going to happen, so we talked a lot about prophecy and things like that as well. So, and but then for the stronger Celtic connection, I talked to somebody who was actually a priest of the Morrigan, and his experience as well. And also, same person has he's Irish himself, and he's very closely linked to his Irish heritage and knew a lot about it. So basically, it's a series of me talking about these things, and also interviews with these people. So it's sort of, I'll do a little bit of an introduction, and it tends to, there's interviews with, like I say, priests, priestesses. I even did a bit of an interview with my mum and dad about their experiences and what got them into Wicca and magic in the first place, and how that linked into their own Celtic heritage. So that's where the seeking the ancestors bit comes from, really, is that I sort of start with my own ancestors, my own direct ancestors, and then move out into the people around me, people I've come across on my own path, and how they've interacted with their ancestors, and how that ties back to either Celtic heritage or Celtic inspiration. Because I don't buy into this, oh well, you've got to prove you have Celtic blood to be involved with Celtic magic, because if you go back far enough, we're all related somewhere. That's been proven time and time again. If you've been inspired by anything Celtic, Celtic literature, Celtic mythology, even Celtic music, then that inspiration is valid. You can't take that away from somebody just because they can't prove that they are a second generation Irish Celt,
Exactly. And there are some that, you have to be able to prove that you are this to belong.
It's line myself. I got I really like the Irish triads, or the Celtic triads. There's Irish ones and there are Welsh ones, which is where it's a collection of three things that fall into some sort of phrase. So I'll give you an example, like here we go, just flicking through this here. So Celtic triad here: 3 sorrows that are better than joy, the heaviness of a herd feeding on mast, the heaviness of a ripe field, and the heaviness of a wood under mast. So it's basically saying, these are three things that can bring wonderful happiness, and there's absolutely dozens, hundreds of these triads. And I once wrote my own triad. It was nothing to do with the original triads that have been written, or ones that have been written historically. Mm-hmm. I like to write poetry, and I just did a little one of my own, and put it online, and tagged it with Celtic and triad, and within a day somebody was going, oh, that's not Celtic, that's not a proper triad, rah, rah, rah. And I was just like, mate, chill out.
Wow. Yeah, and they do that too. That's not right. It's like, yeah. Really?
I actually put, have I at any point said that this is Celtic writing, this is my own poem, my own creation, I'm not pretending it's anything else? And he was like, oh, but the form and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my goodness, you've not got anything better to do.
Right, and that's sad. Sometimes they do not have anything better to do.
I think this again is what puts, when new people come into pagan paths and stuff, I think it's people like that really put them off, because you see these incredibly strong personalities, especially on the internet, where they can hide behind the internet and just say what they want without any consequence. And I think it's really upsetting when I see people asking questions, and I kind of think, okay, that might be seen as quite a naive question, but fair question. If you don't know that, you don't know that. But then you'll see somebody swoop in and go like, oh, don't you even have Google? Can't you just look that up for yourself? And it's like, well, what's the point in us being here if people can't ask us for knowledge,
Exactly, and it is sad, because there are so many groups out there now. Especially, I can use Facebook as an example. If you're new to paganism or whatever, and you're looking for a group, you expect these people that are going to help you, not jump all over you and go, oh no, that's not right, you can't do that, or you don't have a clue and you shouldn't be here. It's like, hello, the elders who have been in this as long as they have should be the ones, be the first ones to chime in and go, hey, it's a valid question, you have no idea, let me help you.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I think that's why I've really enjoyed doing the couple of talks that I've done for the Pagan Federation. And the first one I did a talk about the boats, and the second one I did about foraging. But that's such a relaxed and welcoming atmosphere that I've just felt able to just rattle on and just say, oh yeah, this is this, and I don't actually know much about this, but if you want to know, I could probably go away and find out. Rather than there's some environments in modern paganism where you wouldn't feel comfortable doing that and just saying, well, actually, I'm not an expert and I don't know everything. So you feel like it'll be jumped to, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing this then. It's like, well, I'm just sharing the knowledge I've got, but I think when you enjoy doing that, and you enjoy talking to people, and you enjoy seeing people get joy out of learning themselves, I think you can just kind of ignore the negative side of it and let it wash right over you.
And you kind of have to anyway, because I've been doing herbalism for 30 plus years, and I will be the first to tell you I do not know everything. And don't trust Google, because Google is not always correct. Let me enlighten you. Yeah, so and that's why I think it's funny. People say, "Well, why don't you Google it?" And it's like, yeah, okay. Well, not everything you read online is true. Just so you know.
Absolutely.
Um,
Wikipedia is another one. Don't trust Wikipedia.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way. I was like, yeah, okay. It's just like hoodoo and voodoo. In the United States, apparently hoodoo and voodoo have crossed. And if you think you're reading about hoodoo, half the time you're not. It's actually voodoo, but they're calling it hoodoo, and it's a real mess. I was like, wow. I was like, this is confusing. Like, this is absolutely confusing. Because, I mean, hoodoo is a practice where voodoo is an actual religion, and, you know, if you don't know anything about it, and I'm the first person to say, I'm learning, you know, I wanted to read about it, but, you know, I half the books I've read don't even give me the true answers too. So it's sad in the world that we live in that, you know, everybody can write a book. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true. They can write a book though.
I bet there's quite a lot of upset voodoo priests and priestesses if they're being told that their religion, their sacred religion, is the same as hoodoo. I think that could upset quite a lot of people, I can imagine.
Oh yes, it does. It does. And then they compare it with Santeria, which is totally different, and it's just a whole mess over here, because cops in southern states like Texas and stuff like that look out for people now who are practicing Santeria because they're supposed to be drug cartel. I'm like, okay, nothing like, you know, profiling. Because they practice Santeria, they must be drug dealers. I'm like, okay, like, yeah. You know, it's just like if you're pagan, you worship the devil. So it's like, okay. Yeah, the Bible Belt is great in, you know, the southern states. That's where you really get a lot of it. And places like I live in western Maine, which is almost in Canada. We have pagans here, but they're very, very closet bound.
Right, so it's not very open.
No, I mean, I've met several. I even met one at an AA meeting at a church. I actually met a pagan there who was there for another friend. We both share a friend, and who had just gotten one of her chips. And we're standing there, and I was like, she doesn't openly show it, nothing. And I've worn mine, you know, since I've become pagan. I wear a pentagram around my neck. It does not get hidden. I've never hidden it. Luckily, I've never had any negative output from it. I know lots of people who have, but I've never had it. But around here, a lot of the jobs that these people work, including the hospital, are run by a Christian organization. So they are in total fear that if they come out of their closet, that they will lose their job.
Oh no, that's a real threat though, that is, isn't it? I
Yes.
totally understand why that would keep you sort of keeping everything under wraps.
Oh yeah, and there are certain states in the United States where if you have children and they find out that you're not Christian, they will pull your children.
Oh.
Yeah, and it becomes a huge fight to, you know, get them back. So it's sad. We still live in a day and age of, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's such a deep level of prejudice still within the world. I mean, you know, obviously what's going on at the moment, obviously with the police and black people and what's going on. Certainly, I don't know if you've been following what's been going on.
Oh yes.
What's happened with Britain pulling out of the EU just seems to have given rise to not a bit of racial hatred, a bit of even religious hatred towards Muslims and stuff like that. It just sometimes I think, wow, at least, you know, it's so privileged sometimes when you don't experience that negative side of things, and you just think, I just can't imagine being in that position. Like you say, the people in their jobs where literally their job would be under threat just for openly stating their own spiritual or religious beliefs. It's just absolutely horrendous. And
yeah, it's crazy. And then we have, with all the racial tension going on right now between the police departments and the black people and the white people, and you know, I've determined that we are the only species, the humans are the only species that can hate somebody because of the color of their skin, yeah, or who they, you know, think of as their god. No other species is like that. There are animals that get along just fine. You know, they don't look at you and go, oh, well, you're a wolf and I'm a fox and we can't talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think we should just come to the determination that, you know, everybody was born on Earth. We are a human race, and everybody get along. It doesn't matter who you pray to or, what color your skin is. We're all human. We all bleed red.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like the poster where it's got the blood bags for blood donors, and it's got like white, black, Asian, and the blood all looks the same.
Yeah.
And then underneath it says you can't even tell which one is racist or something.
Exactly, and it's true. I mean, if you're in a hospital, if you're in a severe car accident, and because you're so religious that you can't have a gay person work on you, do you turn down, the only doctor in the emergency room because he's gay, or because he doesn't worship the same God, or because he doesn't have the same color skin? It's just it's stupid how the human brain works, and we all are born without hatred. It's something that we learn. Hatred is taught, and nobody can tell me anything different on that. You're not born hating a different person. It's just doesn't happen that way. I mean, I had friends that were all different colors in school. So you're not born that way. You are raised that way, and you are taught hate by what we see on the news, and some people with their parents. If they're a racist family, you're going to grow up racist. So
you got to really give a high five to the people that grow up in racist and homophobic families, but they find their own way and actually end up going the opposite way completely and being, really cool, really open-minded people, because it's so hard, I think, especially like you were saying about areas like the Bible Belt and stuff, and it must be really hard growing up in that kind of area to break out of that and to be like, actually, no, I'm not homophobic, I'm not racist, I do believe that humans are all equal. I think that's a real triumph against adversity, is that.
Yeah, and there are some out there. Thank the gods. There are some out there. All right, we are going to take our last break right now and listen to some of our wonderful sponsors. And when we come back, we are going to talk about your latest book through pagan portals, through moon books, called Celtic Witchcraft.
Fantastic.
All right, stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to have some fun? Then come and check out Raven's Shadow Crafts, home of the Poppet with a Pocket. These unique handmade poppets come ready to go, pre-stuffed with herbs and in colors designed for your intent. They also have a pocket on the back to add any herb, stone, or personal item you want to make this poppet complete. Just charge and it's ready to go. Other handmade items are gree bags, goddess symbols, mini skull magnets, and more. So check them out on Facebook at Raven's Shadow Crafts. Park your broom and stay a spell. That's www.facebook.com/Ravens Shadow Crafts. We'll see you there. Looking for authentic pagan wares? Then check out Onyx Moon Emporium, where they offer an eclectic mix of metaphysical and spiritual related items, handcrafted using old recipes and traditions, where everything is created in small batches by authentic and experienced practitioners. Their promise to customers is authenticity. From witchy items, conjure goods, setting of lights, to a wide selection of magical and conditioned oils. Also handcrafted wooden grimoires and journals, made to order magical candles in all shapes, sizes, and intents. From angel kits to gree, herbs and curios, from naughty to nice and everything in between. Many items are custom made, so they are uniquely yours. Special orders welcome, and if you have an idea for something you're not finding, they're happy to work with you. Need an oil that's not listed? A spell you can't find? Looking for that hard to find herb or curio? They probably have it, or they can make it. Visit them at onyxmoonemporium.com or find them on Facebook. Onyx Moon Emporium. From angels to Zen, find everything for your magical life.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Walking the Crooked Path. I am your host, Raven Wings, and today we are talking to Mabh Savage. We are talking about a couple of different books that she's written, plus, just shooting the crap like we normally do on a Sunday. The first book that we talked about was A Modern Celt, Seeking the Ancestors, and you'll be able to pick that up at Amazon, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yep, you can get that at Amazon. And the next one we're going to talk about is one she just recently wrote. And this is one of the pagan portal books by Moon Books. And I love these pagan portal books. They're not really long books. They're kind of on the shorter side. But I really like the way the authors have put these together. It's very, very good. And yours is Celtic Witchcraft. And it's modern witchcraft meets Celtic ways, correct?
That's right, yeah. So this is basically, literally, came out at end of April, did this one, and I was working on it most of last year. It's a much shorter volume than a modern Celt, but it's almost like a snappy, to the point, this is what I see Celtic witchcraft as. So this is my version of witchcraft, inspired by the Celts, inspired by the Tuatha de Danaan, but also how you can use Celtic inspiration to find your own witchcraft path. It's not saying you have to do it like this in order to be a Celtic witch. It's saying, I call myself a Celtic witch. If you're inspired by any aspect of Celtic culture, then you can call yourself a Celtic witch too, but here's how I do it. So I talk about the sort of first steps onto a Celtic path. I talk about trying to not be so tied down by calendars and clocks and using things like the seasons and the phases of the moon, just as our ancestors would have done. I also do mention that you can't do that all the time or you'll be late for work and not pick the kids up from school on time.
Right? Modern day witchcraft now, people. We do have modern day.
I think that's one of my favourite things to do in my writing is to, although we honour our ancestors, we aren't our ancestors, we do live in a modern world and a modern setting, and I always try and keep that relevant. I always try and keep that, you know, as much as we might like to sort of disappear into an ancient world and never come back, you know, we can't actually do that. So I do like to try and keep that aspect as well. I also talk about colours, particularly red, black and white, because they're often seen as sacred Celtic colours. Talk about the elements, sort of from the standard Western viewpoint of earth, air, fire and water, but in particular how those appear in Celtic literature and in turn how that can inspire everyday magic. I also talk about a lot about animals. I like animals. And talk about how animals again pop up in Celtic stories and myths and how they can influence your own magic and working. So just having a quick glance at this here, I talk a lot about crows, I talk a lot about dogs, I talk about bees, and just about observing animals, watching their behaviour, just as our ancestors would have done, you know, looking at the animal, seeing it for what it is, and remembering that just because we're humans, we're not better than animals. We talk to each other, and we build things, and we have technology, but that doesn't make us better. We are just one facet in a massive web of life. You know, we're one strand in that web of life, and any animal, any creature is just as important as us. And to, you know, yes, you are powerful, and yes, you have energy, and yes, you have spirit, but so does every animal that you interact with. So, yeah, I get quite passionate about that.
Yeah, I do a lot with, my magic deals a lot with elements. I'm not so much of a goddess god type worshipping type thing, witch. I deal with elements, and I deal with fae, and I deal with, you know, stuff like that. And I definitely believe that the animals are going to be here long after we're gone.
Absolutely, yeah. Because let's face it, we're humans are fantastic at lots of things, but unfortunately, one of the things we're fantastic at is screwing things up.
Yes, and destroying our own planet. You know, I say this all the time. If trees gave off Wi-Fi, we'd never ever cut down another tree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd all live in the forest. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, you also talk in your book how to speak to animals and become one with them.
Yes, I talk a little bit about, well, an example meditation that I give is like basically how to meditate and basically become a dog, and it's the idea of getting into that meditative zone, obviously using your focused breathing and bringing your focus into yourself, and then imagining yourself seeing the world through the eyes of the animal. So for example, with the dog, I talk about the dog's zest for life, the urge to run, and to imagine yourself running, imagine 4 paws pounding off the ground, Imagine the world has changed. Instead of sight being your most important sense, smell. It's all these vivid smells coming in, smells as if they are colours. The world changing in its perception, so everything becomes vivid and sharp. The focus on, say for example, hunting something, that very channel focus and feeling that and trying to experience that for yourself, so you can try and understand how these animals feel and how they experience the world.
Yeah, and they have a totally different perspective of the world than we do, you know.
I'm not saying you can get that 100%, but it's nice to first off come out of yourself a bit, and it's very relaxing actually. Mm-hmm. Second off, to try and get that perspective, the dog's a good one because it's energetic, and the dogs are, they're focused and loyal. I've not actually tried it with cats. Cats are kind of lazy, and
cats are, if you're going to meditate cat style, just go to sleep.
Just find a comfy cushion, curl up on it, go to sleep.
Yep, and you're good. There you go. Cat style. There you go. Either that, or wait till 4 o'clock in the morning and then run through the house like you're on fire.
Or the other half is doing something on the laptop and then just sit on it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's yes. Cats are like that, You also say include practical exercises that can be performed by witches of all abilities. So, from the newest witch that's, coming into her own to a more seasoned crone can actually use this book as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I go from exercises from as simple as simply lighting a candle and watching the flame just to observe how it moves, with any drafts in the room, from the air from your own lungs, from the colours in it, and focusing on the complexity of it, and how simple it is as well. But go all the way to doing like musical exercises, like I talk about music a bit as sort of music. Obviously, can be used in ritual, it can be used in meditation, it can be used in group work to build energy. And I sort of say, if you don't have a musical bone in your body, it doesn't matter. And I talk through some exercises, sort of some vocal exercises, where you start sort of low and sort of up through the ranges, but doing it as loud as you can. Start by yourself, obviously, so you don't, if you've never done it before and you're a bit embarrassed, just in a room by yourself.
And you don't scare anybody to death.
And if you're really shy and a bit concerned, you might want to make sure your neighbours are out as well, So I try and pick these practical exercises that anybody can do, that it doesn't matter. If you've done loads of stuff like this before, they'll still be energising and fantastic. If you have no experience, it's a good way to get into these different ways of raising energy and of creating energy.
Exactly. Well, we are just about out of time, so I want to get this website out there so people can check it out. It's www.mabsavage.webs.com. That is your website, correct?
Yeah, .com at the end, yeah.
Yes, yeah. You guys can check out her stuff there. Her books are on Moon Books, obviously. And that would be the last one, the Pagan Portals. A Modern Celt, Seeking the Ancestors, is also out there on Amazon. And you can check her out on Facebook as well. She's under Mabh Savage as well on Facebook. And I want to thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been loads of fun. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, I love talking. I love it when I get people from England. I love the accent. I feel I'm like, yes, I love that accent. All right, everybody, stay tuned. There'll be more stuff coming up next.